Hello, everybody. This is the Chocolate News Podcast. I'm your co-host, John Alexander Reese.
And your co-host, Andrea Carter.
And if you did not know, the Cincinnati Herald has been around since 1955 and is the leading African American owned newspaper in the greater Cincinnati area and northern Kentucky area. How's it going, Andrea?
It's going great. I mean, I got to get used to 2024. I mean, it's 2023 ended like with a bang, and then it's 2024, and you're like, how you used to write in 2023? Now I got to
Yeah.
start writing 2024. Not,
Yeah.
but then again, we're only a few days. The year is only a few days old, so we got time to practice. But it
Yeah.
has been the holiday was fantastic, though everyone was sick.
Yeah, I was sick, so it was kind of a bummer because I wanted to go to a New Year's Eve party and could not do that. So,
It was my whole family got sick right after Christmas, and we had plans to try to go to the beach. We had plans. My family was in Florida. My father and my sister live in Florida, so we had plans to go to the beach. We had plans to go see the color purple, um,
oh,
which
yeah.
I'm listening to reviews left and right, and how some people want to stick with the Spielberg version of the eight in '85 in the
Mm,
80s, and then people are liking the new version because it concentrates more on the relationships and how the healing more than the violence.
right.
And if everyone has an issue, whether they're like the first one or the second one or the Broadway play, it's just interesting. But I heard the music is fantastic. A lot of people want to get the album of them because of the music, so I have to hear everything. So I'm looking forward to seeing the color purple and starting my year off right with inspiration, and just to see a piece of work that I've read and seen, see it again from a different perspective. And I think the fact that the second version was directed by a Black director, which brought a different perspective than the first one with a white director. As one reviewer said, the first director didn't understand what the story was all about. And the second director, not only does he understand the Black experience, he presented the Black experience in a different way that showcased more the relationships than the violence.
Right. Gotcha.
So the new year is coming off, but 2023 had its ups and downs. I think the first down is the Bengals are not in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a bummer right there.
I watched that game, and I was like, first half happy, chomping at the bit, knowing that my cousin was not happy because he's a Kansas City Chief fan. And I was getting text messages from the one cousin's like, Bruce is not happy, blah, 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 blah. Next update, Bruce is smiling. We're not. So it was, I was like, darn, I'm gonna have to pick a team to follow through the Super Bowl, or just do what my sister does and just watch whatever.
Yeah.
So I was like, I always tease her like, you're from Ohio, support Ohio. She's like, nope. Mm-mm. So, but anyway,
Yeah,
it,
well, you know what? At least we had a little hope going on. And at least we know we have a good backup quarterback now, so that's good to know, I guess.
that I think we are in a better position, and I think they should play Browning more. He needs seasoning. Basically, you saw the potential. He's not Burrows, just
Right.
not. But in his own way, he could be a Burrows. And we just he needs more time on the field. He needs more time in leadership. And he just needs to, whether it's with the practice squad or whatever, he needs practice of leading a team on the field and be better at changing what's going on at the minute. But you know, it
Yeah.
is what it is. But 2023, speaking of loss, we lost a number of great people in 2023, especially in the African American community, and
Yeah.
those who helped change the African American, or affected what they did help change the African American community. But I mean, we lost a lot of entertainers. Richard Roundtree,
Oh yeah.
uh, we that was a huge loss. Harry Belafonte.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
it's just the Hugh Van Ellis. Many may not know his name, but he was one of the last older survivors of the Oklahoma massacre, or the destruction of Black Wall Street in Oklahoma. He's
Yeah.
one of the survivors. And there's, I think, one or two more women who were still surviving and fighting for recognition. It's just Andre Brower. Oh, that wounded me when he died. Tina Turner, just
Mm.
just just sad. I say I mentioned Harry Belafonte, George McGinnis. He was an Indiana basketball legend.
Oh,
George,
did we talk about Tina?
yes, Tina
Okay,
Turner.
Tina. Yeah. Yeah, that
Just it's kind of sad to think that she's gone.
I
You
know, it
know,
really is.
I mean, where she began, Ike and Tina, rolling on the, um, that song, and then she emerged, broke up with him. Her life was changed, and then she fought to get her solo career going, and it went from oh my god to wow. She became this rock star, and she found love,
Yeah.
and I think that's great for her and her children. I feel sorry for her children to lose a great mother like that. But, in the end, she lived a life the way she wanted to.
Yeah, that's
And
true. Oh yeah, Harry Belafonte, yeah. Uh-huh.
he was a singer, actor, civil rights activist. Um, I think, everyone sort of reminds him of his calypso style of singing, but also he was a great civil rights activist where he was paying for stuff that no one else could pay for. He
Yeah.
was he was behind a lot of what went on the civil rights community. Jean Knight, I don't think a lot of people remember her, but she was the one who sang Mr. Big Stuff back in the 70s.
Really?
Yes.
I had no idea.
Yeah. I remember when the song came out, I was a little kid, and everyone loved Mr. Big Stuff, blah, 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 blah. That's all I can sing because I can't sing. You had George Funky Brown, the drummer for Kool and the Gang. Oh,
Right.
oh, DJ Hayden, former NFL quarterback and athlete. We had another C Knight,
C Knight.
Cha Cha Slide.
He
He,
created the Cha-Cha slide?
he created the Cha Cha Slide.
No
I
way.
think I have the CD with that on. I have to go find that. Yes.
That's
He
amazing because I never knew who created the Cha-Cha slide. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, he was
Wow.
he was a rapper and he was a DJ. And when he thought the hip hop community lost their creativity, he came up with this dance, and everyone just loved it. And it really truly it sort of helped begin that the changing of the line dancing. Because I mean, you see the line dancing from remember in the African community, we all have those different dances, but line dancing really began with the stomp, the old style stomp. It's a 4 count line dance based off the waltz, just line dancing. And then from there, if you recognize, all line dancing is still based off that 4 count, but now they do all this different stuff. I have to take a class now because I can't do half the stuff that I admire everyone doing. I'm lucky I can do the electric slide, even when I remember how to do it. So,
Yeah.
Walter
Oh.
Davis, who was an NBA All Star and UNC basketball legend, I would say those are Rudolph Isley, the founding father of the Isley brothers.
Hmm.
Charles Porter Jr. Now, many people may not know him, but he was Houston's first black reporter, and he had a voice on the radio. But he was a trailblazer, and he was big in the black press. And a lot of the first black reporters for many newspapers, some have died, but those who had an imprint on those who started working for mainstream integrated media, he was a legend. And
Hmm.
then Zolika Mandela was the granddaughter of Nelson Mandela. She died. She had a battle with cancer. Irish Grinstead, R&B singer of 702. It's a group that really didn't last that long back in the 70s. I barely remembered them. Here's one guy, Clarence Avant. Um,
Oh yeah, I remember him. He was the Black Godfather, right?
yes, he was the Black
Okay.
Godfather. He was a true legend. He made a lot of folks of music. He was the guy there helping to shepherd a lot of singers or help their musical careers. He made a lot of people, and I would say Sheila Oliver was a New Jersey lieutenant governor. She was the first Black woman to serve in that state in an elected position. Um, it's just I would just say Jim Brown.
Oh, that's right, Jim Brown.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Jim Brown died. There's a lot. Tori Bowie she was the Olympic gold medal in track and field. I would say also Willie Reed. He was an NBA Hall of Famer and a Knicks legend, and also Lola Chantrell. She was known as Gangsta Boo.
Mm,
She was known in the hip hop community, but she was known also in Memphis. She was another member of the R&B trio 702. So they lost two people. So
gotcha.
those are gist of who we lost in 2023.
Yeah.
Um, in Cincinnati, locally, we had our first shooting victim of the year was a 17-year-old who
Oh my
was
God.
part, which was so tragic to hear
That
about that.
is.
As the story comes out, people heard a fight that was going on, then they heard gunshot. And what was so sad about this is the fact that his mother discovered his body behind the apartment building. And
Oh.
they went
Oh.
out looking for him, and he was shot. He never came home. So what a way to start 2024 off. There's
Yeah.
that tragedy. But one of the interesting things of 2023 was the corruption charges that faced PG Sittenfeld. That trial came about in 2023, and trying to remember who the other one was, but unfortunately PG Sittenfeld was convicted, and he reported to federal prison on January 2nd.
Mm,
So he's now federal prison inmate, PG
mm.
Sittenfeld. So
So unnecessary. That's all I gotta say. He has such a bright future in politics, and you just, well, it's sad. Bribery corrupts another politician.
yeah, and then we're still waiting on the sentencing for one other council member,
Isn't it pastor? Or
Jeff Pastor. That's right.
okay, right.
He's supposed to be sentenced for the bribery scheme. His is a little bit more serious than what
Yeah,
PG was accused of.
right.
And I think he's supposed to be or he had well, I think he's supposed to be sentenced soon for his role, but his partner in crime was sentenced to 2 years in prison. Um,
Yikes.
Yes. So I think we're still waiting to see what's going to happen with Jeff Pastor. But what's interesting about PG Sittenfeld, he has had a number of people sign briefs onto his appeal because he contends that he was fundraising. And
Really?
you do all kinds of stuff to fundraise. And a lot
Hmm.
of former Republican attorneys have signed onto his appeal to talk about fundraising. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him. It's very, very interesting. And but again, another thing that happened in 2023 was the you want to talk about the strike that
Yeah.
happened in Hollywood?
Yeah. Let me talk about the strike real quick. So, there were dual strikes in Hollywood. It was the studios versus the WGA, which is the screenwriters of Hollywood. Their organization is WGA, Writers Guild of America, and the actors, and their organization is called SAG-AFTRA. SAG-AFTRA. So they basically the whole entertainment industry was grinded to a halt, and it was like, so no, the writers and especially the actors, I think the actors was more damaging towards the industry because the writers went on strike first, but people could still film because all, mostly, the writing, that's all in pre-production stuff. So they were still able to film, but as soon as the actors went on strike, that's when everything really grinded to a halt. And it was rough. Words were exchanged. Some studios said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna try to outlast them so they can't afford their rent and mortgage and stuff, and be homeless," which is really cold-hearted. um so I have no idea like what the studios were aiming for, because in every scenario they looked like the bad guy. But eventually, the strikes came to an end. It was really about more residuals for the writers and the actors, and the use of AI, which is it's a long subject, but basically there has to be more regulation on AI, which I think is the biggest threat to not only the entertainment industry, I think multiple industries as well. But
Hmm.
anyway, writers and actors, they get more residuals, because like one thing that some people didn't understand, and I think the writers and the actors could have communicated that more clearly, especially to the general public, is that writers and actors live off residuals. They have to have that because, it's like, yeah, you get some big paydays, but there will be like months, sometimes years, where actors and writers struggle to look for work because it's a very competitive industry, and it's ever changing. So they need residuals to you know live off and everything, and it's not like a normal job. You're just going one project to the next, and the whole residual thing has been in effect for years and decades and everything. And writers are just trying to get their fair share. Actors were trying to get their fair share, because whenever you think about like the top actors like Brad Pitt or Sandra Bullock or Will Smith or Denzel Washington, yeah, they're rich and famous, but that's like 1%.
Hmm.
The all the other actors, they're just like just trying to we're working day jobs, man. I can't remember. I think the medium salary was like 50,000 for an
Yes.
actor, I think. Yeah. So, it's
Yeah.
just like they're not living in fancy mansions and driving fancy cars and stuff.
No, I
They
mean,
just,
I mean, and think of the people who work as background acters,
yeah,
and then
especially.
and they only make like $100 a day, depending
Exactly.
and depending upon what it is. I have I know a couple people who do that, and
Yeah.
it's just one of those things of where they're not making. I mean, and then also this pertains to, even though those who make big money, Taraji P. Henson, when she was starting to do the interviews for The Color Purple,
Yeah.
she came out and said, as I quote, "The math is still not mathing," because she makes a certain amount of money. Uncle Sam takes 50%. Then
Yeah.
she still has to pay her team. They take 30%. And then
Exactly.
what's left, she keeps 20. That's not
Exactly.
enough. And you know what?
Exactly.
And California is a very expensive place to live.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm amazed people still are able to afford to live out there.
I know,
Um,
right? I used to want to live out there until I saw the prices. I say, nope.
no.
Cincinnati's looking real good right now.
Oh yeah, this is. I understand why people are moving to the Midwest again, because it's cheap.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it yes, our prices have risen up, but we are cheap. We're cheaper than either of the coasts, West
Yeah,
and East. And it's and trust me, I love the East Coast. I
yeah,
do.
yeah.
I've lived there twice.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, twice in New Jersey, once in Pennsylvania. I've lived up in the Poconos, and that was, even the Poconos was cheaper than on the East Coast, but still it was expensive.
Yeah,
Um, it's just the food prices, the taxes, the rent. It's just, it gets a lot, and you shouldn't be paying a lot to live, but you do.
yeah,
But
exactly.
I mean, but again, even though they've won huge concessions, minority actors, directors, they're still not getting the bulk of the work that they should get, unless they have their own production companies, or they join a fellow actor in their production company and pull stuff off, and or they have side stuff where they have enough name recognition that they can sell stuff. Like right now, we're seeing Tracy Elmer Ross with our hair care products. And everyone either has a jewelry line, a clothing line, hair care line, cooking line, shoe line, what have you. Somebody's got something to sell because they
Yeah,
got to make money.
exactly.
But they're trying to use their fame to, get that, because we're in the day of, because there's so much noise out there in e-commerce and online, that everyone has to find a way to make themselves stand out.
Exactly.
And if you don't shout the loudest, you're not going to get the goods.
Yeah, exactly. But in the end, the writers and the actors got good deals. So good on the actors and the writers. Here's hoping that other unions in Hollywood can get their fair share too.
Yeah. And I would say that, everyone needs to get their fair share. Everyone's looking to the future.
Hmm.
And I just hope it's a prosperous new year for everybody. And I would say I'll start out with one prosperous new year, or a new term. Cincinnati City Council, the new council, was sworn in yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes, and it was a nice ceremony, and it everyone was sworn in. Jan Michelle Kearney again remains the vice mayor of the city of Cincinnati, and Victoria Parks was again voted to remain president pro tem. So if the mayor can't lead the city council meetings, then Vice Mayor Jan Michelle will jump in. And then if both the mayor or Jan Michelle can't do it, then Victoria Parks will do it. That's what those titles mean. Though with this leadership, the vice mayor role has taken on a more leadership role than ever before under Mayor Aftab Purval, and which I think is very, very interesting. And everyone, after each council member was sworn in, they gave a few comments. And everyone spoke positive. They all spoke about gun violence, what we need to do about gun violence, what we need to do about several issues that are coming up in the community, how we need to do more. Some of it was safety, some of it was in the environment. But I think gun violence is what's really weighing on everybody's mind. And we have a new council member who got sworn in as well, which
Right.
was
Yeah.
Albie is her last name.
Yeah, Anna Albee, I think,
Anna
right?
Albee,
Right.
and she's very much, she's from Moms Demand Action. She was a volunteer with that group. She's very much about prevention. She wants to work with community groups. She's very much into neighborhood issues. So it's gonna be interesting to see what she brings to the table. And on top of that, this is the first council where it's all Democrats.
Interesting.
We've always had one or two Republicans.
Yeah, or at least an independent. So yeah.
Independent, yeah. So we have no Republicans,
Hmm.
none whatsoever. So it's going to be very, very interesting, because this year coming up, we switch from council races to county commissioner races, and
Ah,
and Alicia Reese is up for reelection, and I believe Denise Driehaus is up for reelection this year.
okay.
So it's going to be interesting to see who's going to try and run, because the Republicans are chomping at the bit. They
Right.
want that county control back. They want that back. So it's going to be interesting politically what's going to happen. Because we got national races going on. Lansfield is up for reelection, so we're going to see the fight for District 1 again, for the congressional District 1. One he's not going to run for reelection, so District 2 is up for reelection. I mean, up for a new person to be in as congressman. That's a heavy Republican seat. So we're going to see, is it going to be a moderate Republican, or is it going to be a MAGA Republican? So we're going to see who runs
Mm,
there. Um,
gotcha.
because we got Donald Trump on one side. We got, the Republican Party as a whole is in turmoil,
Okay.
because you got those of the old Republican Party fighting for survival. You have those Republicans who are Magna or close to Magna that support
Yeah.
Donald Trump. And, there's no in between, there's no common ground. So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see what happens. with the Republicans, because not all, there are some Republicans who worked on behalf of the community as a whole,
Right.
but we're seeing a lot. We're seeing, if you don't do it my way, we're going to get you out.
Mm.
Uh, and I think case in point, what was just announced recently is the president of Harvard, the first
Yeah.
Black president, barely been there 6 months, is resigning because of not only her testimony before Congress about the anti-Semitic remarks that were made on a college campus, but also there were talks of plagiarism. Now, I just have to say, one, I think it's a shame that she resigned, but you could only take so much. She's going to remain a faculty member, but she won't be leading them. A lot of people didn't like the fact that you had the first Black president at Harvard being a Black woman. But I think college campuses as a center of freedom of speech as a whole, whether you like it or not, is under attack.
Yeah.
And which I think is a shame. Because I think there's something going through the country of where if you don't do it my way, I'm going to get rid of you, or I'm going to shut you down.
Yeah.
And I think what Governor DeSantis in Florida has done by changing how you look at college campuses, it that people that are in the conservative party are now looking at that and saying, how can we affect change? How can we fight this? And I'm not going to get into details over should she support it or said this or things like that, because what is said on a college campus is protected speech in the sense it's free speech. I mean, that's what I mean by
Hmm.
protected, whether someone likes it or not.
Yeah.
But because of the war between Israel and Hamas, anti-Semitism has grown.
Right.
Well, I shouldn't say grown, but it's that Pandora box has broken open wide.
Yeah.
And we have to, everywhere we're fighting it.
Yeah.
And, if you look at, there is discrimination going on by bigger leaps and bounds across the country, affecting those of the Chinese or Japanese community, or those of I would say Asian descent, so to speak. They're being affected by what's happening in those countries. What's happening in Israel and Hamas, people are fighting those issues. What's happening in the African American and Latino community, we're fighting those issues. So on one bigger level, there is this box of anti everything has broken open, and the key words of woke and diversity and unity, they're all being negative words. They're being used now as key words of they're taking over, they're taking our jobs. Oh, we have to protect ourselves. Of what? We're all affected by the same thing, but you have this layer upon layer of new layers, old layers, but now new in a different way that are affecting everybody. And I think, unfortunately, 2024 is going to be the center of all of that
Yeah.
during this presidential election, whether it's ageism, whether it's young people stepping up to the plate and actually getting out and vote and speaking their mind, whether it's you fight against this or that. There's a lot of ugh, out there that's going to affect who's going to lead our country, who's going to lead locally. Can we survive? You know, will affect our ability to own a house, buy a car, keep our job. What's going to happen? So there's that. So I think it's kind of sad that Claudine Gay is gone, but she joins the president of the University of Pennsylvania, the president of the MIT. There's another person under fire right now, all because they are all women and they all testified before Congress about what happened on their college campuses or university campuses. And free speech is being attacked left and right. That what we think of free speech may not be the same by the end of 2024 if certain people continue to push down and fight and they may win. So,
Yeah.
which is sad.
Yeah.
Um, but speaking of speech,
Oh,
um,
yeah.
you brought this up.
I did bring it up. I just got this before we started recording, and I was just like, in some ways, it's a new year. I like to think fresh beginning, but then some people still do the same dumb. It's just well, let me just say. So there's a Confederate flag um in Harrison. It's right near the Welcome to Harrison, Ohio sign.
Ugh, it's a shame.
And it's on private property. So they can't do anything about it. So, you know, like the who was it? The mayor, and actually what's more embarrassing is that, the welcome to Harrison, Ohio sign, the mayor's name is on it, Ryan Grubbs. And it's just like, it's freedom of speech. It's on city property. But they are looking into ways to see like if it's a violation of any of the zoning requirements or anything, just, or if it's misrepresentation because, it's like it's right. I'm going to post an article on our website, but if you look at the sign, it's like the flag, it's right next to the sign. So like if you're driving to Harrison, Ohio, like if I was just driving to Harrison, Ohio, it's a big Confederate sign. I said, oh, okay,
Mm.
I'm not welcome here. Not
Yeah,
not not to say that because I'm sure there are plenty of fine people in Harrison. I know there are fine people in Harrison, but I'm just like if you're an outsider looking in, you see the Confederate flag sign right next to the Welcome to Harrison, Ohio sign. I'm gonna think it's like it's part of the city.
yeah,
So it's like it's a real pain. It's a real pain. It really is. So I'm just like, and I know, and look, I'm all for freedom of speech. Okay, that's all fine. But it's like there are just some people, I guess, who just
yeah,
don't see. I mean, there are still some people who think like the Civil War was just over states' rights.
right. And
I just can't talk to those people. Or I just okay, we'll just agree to disagree. And just like because they're just different mindset. But I'm just like,
I mean, if you think about it, the Civil War wasn't just about states' rights. It was about slavery, but it also was about business. And it's just one of those things. And it's kind of sad, but again, like I said, free speech,
yeah,
especially when it's on private property, there's nothing that you can do about it. But you hope that someone will take it down and go from there. So,
yeah. But
um,
just one thing before we finish though. I'm just still surprised there are just some people. Well, I know some people are just plain racist, but there are just some people who just still don't understand that the Confederate flag, it just represents nothing but just misfortune and just oppression to black people. Your Southern history, it doesn't mean crap to black people. People were enslaved in the South under the Confederate flag. That Confederate flag, it means nothing to me. That thing belongs in the museum. And
yeah.
that's just how I feel about it. But
Well,
whatever.
I mean, I'm surprised, but not surprised.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
I
Yeah.
mean, because the cities, Ohio is a contradiction in terms because the cities represent one viewpoint and the other parts outside of the city represents a different Ohio, which is kind of sad. But we're representative of what's happening in the United States,
Yeah.
and we just have to educate our people and go from there and everything else. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
But it makes the beginning of 2024 a very interesting. It's an interesting story to start off 2024, but it rolls right into what is happening nationally around the country.
Yeah.
So it's just something more for us to talk to. And you know what? We need to bring on the Freedom Center to talk about
No,
this.
we should.
That, for 2024, I would say for 2024, for Chocolate News, is to bring on more informed guests of what's happening locally and nationally And you have our kitchen commentary, and we're going to continue to have fun and give you the insight here. And we're just going to take each day as it comes.
All right, well, that's it for today's show, and I want to thank Andrea for all the good chocolate news.
Well, it was my pleasure, and I'm looking forward to 2024.
And folks, remember you can find more information about today's topics and past podcast episodes at www.thecincinnatiherald.com, in the session newsletter, or on our social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Threads. And make sure to subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. I'm John Alexander Reese,
And I'm Andrea Carter.
and have a good day.